printed word, the fuel of discontent before the outbreak of the American Revolution. Writings of the time affected villager as well as aristocrat. They read the pamphlets, the newspapers, and many were moved to action. The literature of defiance spread along a network of patriots from Savannah, north through the colonial cities, to Boston. The printed arguments led to debate in the colonial legislatures and finally fired the passions that drove colonists to war. The printer had attained a position of power. His influence had grown steadily during the trying years preceding the Revolution. Only decades before, his work seemed quite routine. The printing of poetry, recipes, community announcements. But printers started to publish political events, opinions, and newspapers flourished. Benjamin Franklin was one of the better-known publishers of the day, and his Pennsylvania Journal kept Philadelphia citizens informed. Franklin also published Poor Richard's Almanac. It was essentially a calendar of the years, with timetables for planting crops. But it featured sayings which caught the fancy of the colonists.
3 may keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Fish and visitors smell in 3 days.
Poor Richard's Almanac expressed an emerging American personality, practical, humorous, and independent, as well as Franklin's keen wit and sharp mind. In his autobiography, started at age 67, Franklin wrote of colonial Philadelphia and his youth. He was only 17 when he arrived, poor, friendless, and looking for work as a printer.
I was in my working dress, my best clothes being to come round by sea. I was dirty from my journey. My pockets were stuffed with shirts and stockings. Thus I went up Market Street, passing by the door of Mr. Reed, my future wife's father, when she, standing at the door, saw me and thought I made, as I most certainly did, a most awkward, ridiculous appearance.
And when he wrote about his significant later life in public service and government, that same humility shines through. He had indeed fulfilled his childhood ambition to be a tolerable English writer. The increased number of presses encouraged writing on a wide variety of subjects, from science and agriculture to philosophy, religion, and politics. Pamphlets were frequently published which proposed elaborate plans for a future America. The new political literature began to confront the great issues of the day, whether the colonies should remain loyal to the Crown in London or become separate states bound together in a union. In Virginia, at a secret meeting of the colonial legislature held at St. John's Church in Richmond, Patrick Henry rose and delivered a speech which will long be remembered in American political literature.
If we wish to be free, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight.
Post riders carried copies of the speeches and essays calling for liberty to every corner of every colony. Early in 1776, Philadelphia radical Tom Paine wrote the revolutionary period's most passionate plea for liberty. His pamphlet, Common Sense, argued strongly for a separate nation. An astonishing 150,000 copies were circulated, urging every American to join the fight.
O ye that love mankind, ye that dare oppose not only tyranny but the tyrant, stand forth.
As support mounted, Thomas Jefferson was asked to write a moral defense of the Revolution. This became the Declaration of Independence, based upon the natural rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. During the long years of the Revolution, colonists often turned to the printed word for encouragement. In verse, Francis Hopkinson's humorous The Ballad of the Kegs satirized British confusion when kegs of Patriot gunpowder came floating down the Delaware.
Therefore, prepare for bloody war. These kegs must all be routed, or surely we despised shall be, and British courage doubted.
And in a series of essays called The Crisis, Tom Paine observed,
These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman.
the revolution succeeded. A new nation was born. After the revolution and the period of constitutional debate, literature turned its attention from politics to other matters. Like the earlier writings of Franklin, the new writings reflected American interests. Noah Webster published a speller for use in American schools. He also printed an American Reader, the first collection of American writings of its kind. On the stage, the first American comedy, Contrast by Royal Tyler, was presented. In verse, the voyages of Christopher Columbus were the subject of epic poems. Phyllis Wheatley, at the age of 20, astonished the literary worlds of Boston and London with her elegant verse. She paid tribute to General Washington.
Proceed, great chief, with virtue on thy side. Thy every action let the goddess guide. A crown, a mansion, and a throne that shine with gold unfading. Washington, be thine.
And Philip Freneau, the most famous poet of the Revolutionary period, expressed his great hopes for the future of the new nation.
Far brighter comes a future age. The muse predicts these states will hail, whose genius may the world engage.
The Frenchman, Jean de Crèvecoeur, wrote of the excitement so many Europeans felt when they came to America. In Letters from an American Farmer, he asked, "What is an American?"
Here, individuals of all nations are melted into a new race of men, whose labors and posterity will one day cause great changes in the world. Americans are the Western pilgrims who are carrying along with them that great mass of arts, sciences, vigor and industry which began long since in the East. They will finish the great cycle.
Thus, the writers of the Revolutionary period addressed themselves to the nature and the future of the new nation. They were, for the most part, a highly idealistic group, sharing a deep faith in the prospects of the young United States of America.